Hi students, E.M. Forster was a very prominent English novelist. In 1927, he published a book based on a series of lectures he gave at Cambridge University called The Aspects of the Novel. In this book, he defined some key terms for understanding novels in a way that was very influential on the study of narrative fiction and especially, I think, on the teaching of fiction in schools. In this video, I want to look at Forster's definition of plot because it is different from the definition I usually give. What I said in an earlier video or in class is that plot is the events in the story or novel. Let's see what Forster says about this term. In order to differentiate plot from what he calls just story, Forster gives an example that has since become famous, almost a cliche. The king died and then the queen died is just a story. The king died and then the queen died of grief is a plot. Take a moment to think about what the difference is between the king died and then the queen died, and the king died and then the queen died of grief. If you said that the second sentence includes causality or cause and effect, you are correct. In the plot example, the king's death leads to the queen's death. In what Forster calls a mere story, there are just two events, one after another. We don't know how they connect. For Forster, the key element in plot is not the events, but that there's a causal connection between them. Causality here acts like a thread on which the events are strung. To give Malamud's The Jewbird as an example, like I did in the previous video, the Jewbird's moving into the apartment causes Cohen's disgruntlement. This disgruntlement causes him to mistreat and eventually toss out the Jewbird. One event leads to another. Or to give an example from a children's book, The Little Engine That Could. The old engine breaks down, causing the clown to ask other engines for help. They all refuse, so that causes him to ask the little engine for help. He does help. He says to himself, I think I can. So he finally gets the train with all the toys and the candy to all the little boys and girls. Yay. So one event leads to another. That's the basic idea of how Forster defines plot. The causally connected events. Let's see how Forster himself phrases this in one paragraph from the aspects of the novel. He says, let us define plot. We have defined a story as a narrative of events arranged in their time sequence, events one after another. Actually, this is how I define plot. A plot is also a narrative of events, the emphasis falling on causality, one causing another. The king died and then the queen died is a story, just a story. The king died and then the queen died of grief is already a plot. The time sequence is preserved, just like in the story, there's a time sequence because it is a narrative. But the sense of causality overshadows, overbears it, the time sequence. For Forster, causality is more important, so it overpowers the mere sequence of events. Or again, the queen died, no one knew why until it was discovered that it was through grief at the death of the king. This is a plot with a mystery in it, a form capable of high development. This is even better because there is a question about causality. There is a mystery about what caused what. It suspends the time sequence. It moves as far away from the story as its limitations will allow. So we are not told the story from beginning to end, but because there is an issue of causality, we are told the story away from the time sequence. Consider the death of the queen. If it is a story, we say, and then, what's next? What's next? Like maybe a child listening to a story Forster wants us to imagine. If it is a plot, we ask, why? Like a more mature question. That is the fundamental difference between these two aspects of the novel, between plot and story. Now it shows us the clear preference to the plot. Right? The plot is more mature. A plot cannot be told to a gaping audience of cavemen or to a tyrannical sultan. He's referencing the Arabian Nights or 1001 Nights, where Shahrazad stays alive by telling suspenseful what next stories to the tyrannical sultan or to their modern descendant, the movie public, right? The people who go watch movies are like cavemen or tyrannical sultans who only want to know what happens next. They're not sophisticated. I'll remind you, this book is from 1927, so we may be a little forgiving that he has not recognized yet the potential for more complex plots in films. At this point, most films were not even didn't even have sound. Okay, so some people recognize the potential, and there were some great films by 27, but we can be a little forgiving to Forster for saying this. Even if somebody said this today, it wouldn't really make sense. This is almost 100 years ago. They can only be kept awake. The movie watch goers, the sultans, the cavemen, they can only be kept awake by, and then they can only supply curiosity. But a plot demands intelligence and memory also. So popular movies and stories are all about what next. More sophisticated, more intelligent plots also ask why. I don't think Forster is fair to the general movie-going public or even to cavemen who are absolutely capable of asking questions about plot and why things happen and not just what's going to happen next. Still, that was his point of view, and I'm reporting it because it's so influential and it's crucial for some of the ideas that are fundamental for the study of narrative. So to sum up this video, according to Forster and those influenced by him, plot is a sequence of events connected by causality. It makes you ask why things happen, not just accept that they happened one after another. I hope this helps. And if you think I took something simple and made it more complicated, that's fine. That's my job too. Thank you for listening.